G'day, Daniel Kazinas here. The boat ATV is in the shed. What I've got to do is make a frame to strengthen everything up. Because at the moment this is just held by the alloy and it's like super floppy. So I've made these two bits of angle on here with holes that I'm going to bolt underneath and run like a framework back to the floor. Okay, I got that little bit of framing tacked up in there. That should make that whole front stronger. Got the front bolted back on. Now I'm just trying to make I might make an over center mechanism here to see if I could just crank the front down with the big lever. So let's try and do that. The tack broke, I'll just try that again. Alright, it holds its weight when it's like that because it goes over center. I can always put a little latch or something as well. So now I'll just tack a big handle on here to see if I can crank it down with my hands. Okay, that works, but it's a bit hard. I've really got to yank on it pretty hard and be out of the boat for it to work. So what I can try doing is shortening up the pivot here because we've got plenty of throw. Because when I pull this way, it's going to be well and truly out of the water and I can go all the way down till the lever hits the bottom. So what I need is to change this pivot point and that should make it better. Okay, I changed that pivot point further in and I cut this and welded a bolt in here so I can adjust it. So I've got it quite tight now. Okay, I ended up drilling a whole heap of holes in this thing to get better leverage angles. It did work, it was easier to pull up, but I couldn't do it while I was in the boat, which is like, you know, worst case scenario, because usually it's going to be lowered and raised while I'm on the water. But I figured if I change the linkage so I push down to lift it up, then my body weight will get taken off as I push it down, so that will be better. I'll try and make it one that does that. Well, that works good. It took me ages to make all this. It's pretty rough, but I cut it apart and changed it about 20 times. So finally I've got like the right mixture of, it goes over center to come up and then over center to come down, then I fold the lever up. But it's pretty dodgy, like if you bounce around it just flicks back up. So what I've actually effectively made is an uppercut machine. So as you can see, it would probably knock out Mike Tyson, no worries. what I'm going to do, I think, a bit hard to video and do this, is make a latchy hook thing off here that hooks onto a latch, so it's safe, because I'm all about safety. Well, that was easy, it took absolutely ages, but I think I finally got it figured out. What I had to do, I don't know, see if you can see the latch goes over that bolt. I had to make a spring on the latch to hold it up, otherwise when you bounce it up and down it tries to fall undone. Alright, now that that's working, let's test out the suspension. So what I'm going to do next is try and sort the steering out. So what I'm going to do is have like a ball jointy thing connected to a pivot rod. It's going to pivot there, and then I have a big rod back to where I'm going to be driving. So if I keep it in line with this pivot point here, it shouldn't affect it too much when it tips up and down. Okay, doing a bit of a voiceover here. I decided to make a cover for the end of that box section. So I got onto Fusion 360 and extruded out a box, and then I drew the inside part for it. I made it 0.1 oversized, so hopefully it fits. And then I made a little hole to put a grub screw in, or I'll put a cap screw in. So I made that and then made a little recess for it. And then I just filleted the edges after a few tries because I'm pretty new to this. Put a 10mm on each edge and some little ones on the bottom in the hole to make it look nicer. Then you save it as a mesh and it goes to this other program which I don't know how to use. So I take it to another program called Creality. Then you get the G code from that program. Then you save it to your SD card. Put the SD card into my new Ender 3 3D printer. Here's a picture of it because it was dark and you couldn't really see. And then start printing it. So first thing it does is it extrudes a bit of plastic to pull that away. And then it starts making a raft, which the whole thing sits on. It also clears the tip out. You don't have to do this, but it seems to work better if you do. And then here's various stages through the print. It took about 2 hours, but it's pretty efficient. My daughter's just pulling it off. And then you get peel off the base, show us the base. Just a raft. Here we go. Let's go try it. Here we go, that's going to go on. Okay, so I can just put a grub screw in there, tap it into the steel. I won't cut my hands on the end. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.